It's Tuesday, March 13. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips is in support of the island's teachers as they press the government for better wages. Dr. Phillips says the teachers should be properly paid. He argued that the government's breach of collective bargaining principles is unprecedented. He says collective bargaining principles have been in place for decades and that the government's stance is wrong. Dr. Phillips also contended that there is no need for a tax package in order to give the island's teachers a meaningful salary adjustment. And opposition spokesman on education and former education minister Reverend Ronald Thwaites says the industrial action taken this week by teachers was avoidable. Reverend Thwaites told the press negotiations between the disgruntled teachers and the government should have been completed last year. He says the current wage offer from the Holness administration would effectively leave the teachers in a worse position when the figures are adjusted for inflation. Reverend Thwaites says he remains supportive of teachers, but he's calling for reason from both teachers and the government. Still on wage woes, tension is mounting between the Police Federation and the Finance Ministry regarding wage talks, as the Federation has issued a statement on Monday confirming reports of talks about legal action to protect its members' interests. It also expressed concern and disappointment with public utterances by Minister of Finance Audley Shaw regarding what it says is an erroneous calculation of 34% over 4 years for salaries and the planned payment of retroactive salaries to public sector workers this month. Police Federation Chairman Sergeant Cecil McCullough says if the Finance Ministry goes ahead and pays the members despite no wage agreement being signed, it would be a serious breach of trust and good faith. The group has written to the Finance Minister seeking clarification. The health dangers of too much added sugar in the diet is among matters discussed at the Food and Agriculture Organization's FAO's Regional Conference for Latin America and the Caribbean, held recently in Montego Bay. According to conference officials, consuming an excessive amount of sugar continues to be a major health issue throughout the region and is a major contributor to non-communicable diseases, NCDs, such as diabetes and obesity. Here's more in this report. For Minister of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries Carl Samuda, excess sugar in the diet is a clear and present danger. In an interview with JIS, he noted that many persons are consuming too much sugar-sweet foods and drinks and are now suffering the consequences, which in turn adds to the cost of healthcare. Excessive sugar contributes to high blood pressure and raises the risk of heart disease. Research shows that raised blood glucose accounts for 21% of heart disease and 13% of stroke mortality worldwide, amounting to about 3.16 million deaths a year. Sugar can also suppress the immune system, leading to conditions such as arthritis, allergies, asthma, and multiple sclerosis, and impair defenses against candida or yeast infection. Samuda said the FAO has and will continue to lead the fight to promote healthy eating in order to reduce diet-related conditions. He further noted that the time has come for a serious sit-down with manufacturers of sweet drinks and other items with heavy sugar content to see how best the sugar can be minimized. In the meantime, Director General of the FAO, Dr. Jose Graziano da Silva, said that so serious are the problems resulting from heavy sugar intake that some countries have barred the sale of certain products in school canteens. In regional news, the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPM, yesterday put Trinidad and Tobago citizens on alert after authorities in Grenada were told of elevated activity at Kikumjeni, one of the most active volcanoes in the Eastern Caribbean. In a release, the ODPM said a substantial increase in earthquake activity associated with the volcano was recorded overnight Sunday by the University of the West Indies Seismic Research Unit.
The orange alert means there are highly elevated levels of seismic or fumarolic activity, and eruption may begin with less than 24 hours notice. At this heightened alert level, ships and other marine operators are to observe a 5-kilometer or a 3.1-mile exclusion radius. NADMA says it will continue to monitor the situation with the assistance of the UWI Seismic Research Center.
Barbados Prime Minister Ferdinand Stewart has defended his decision not to announce a date for the general election when his administration allowed the parliament to be automatically dissolved on March 6. Addressing a meeting of his ruling Democratic Labour Party recently, Stewart said that the move was done deliberately.
Dissolve it deliberately. And of course, the experts have been given expressions to their surprise. This is the first time in Barbados' history that a parliament was allowed to stand dissolved by effluxion of time. That is how history is made. History is not made by things happening the same way all the time. History is made by doing things differently.
Stewart said that the government has 90 days after the dissolution of Parliament to name a date for the general election in keeping with the provisions of the Representation of the People Act. He said the government will stick to the timeline.
So the Parliament stands dissolved, and we have 90 days within which to have a general election in this country. According to Section 36, I think it is, of the Representation of the People's Act, there has to be polling day, nomination day, and not fewer than 14 or not more than 21 days later, there has to be polling day. And I can assure you that all of that is going to happen.
U.S. President Donald Trump has reportedly sacked Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and replaced him with the director of the CIA, Mike Pompeo. Mr. Tillerson, a former chief executive of ExxonMobil, has been in the top job for a little over a year. He paid a visit to Jamaica on February 7. At that time, he held discussions with Prime Minister Andrew Holness on a number of issues, including the strengthening of security cooperation to combat transnational organized crime, boosting the U.S.-Jamaica economic partnership, and energy security. The United Nations World Health Organization, the WHO, has launched new guidelines aimed at helping Caribbean and other countries end the reign of the tobacco industry. WHO said the new guidelines, together with an accompanying publication, would help Caribbean and other governments do much more to implement regulations and address the exploitation of tobacco product regulations. The guide also provides regulators and policymakers with comprehensible information on how to test tobacco products, what products to test, and how to use testing data in a meaningful manner to support regulation. It said the guidelines will also assist in the implementation of the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, a global treaty combating the tobacco epidemic through strengthening tobacco product regulation capacity in WHO member states. In sports, Jamaica's junior development gymnastics team produced creditable performances at the Gymnics International in Montreal, Canada on Saturday. The Level 6 to Level 10 representatives, led by National Gymnastics Federation President Nicole Grant Brown, returned to the island yesterday in high spirits, having gained invaluable experience from the outing. Over 115 teams from 25 countries converged in Montreal for the Gymnix International, making it one of the largest meets in that region. Among the high scorers, in Level 6 competition, Alexia Renault placed 12th all-around in a field of 30 competitors, with Asasia Malcolm finishing 18th all-around in a pool of 25. India Shirley and Michaela Virgo were 12th and 24th from a pool of 26 and 29 competitors respectively. Jamelia Duffus and Adana Johnson were 14th and 17th respectively in Level 7, while Kiara Richmond, who was a third on beam, placed 5th all-around in Level 10. Meanwhile, in Level 9, Nastasia Simone Gibitana was 11th all-around, with Elizabeth Street, who was first on vault, placing 5th all-around. And that's the news. Do stay with us. The weather report is next. This is PBCJ's weather report. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. Let's start, as usual, with our local currents. In our forecast today, we're looking at what should be happening across the island. We're seeing temperatures between 27 and 30 degrees Celsius. We're also seeing a forecast of some cloudy conditions across the island and possible showers over there in Montego Bay, Ocho Rios, and Negril. Let's take a look, though, at what's happening specifically in Kingston right now. We're seeing temperatures between 23 and 28 degrees Celsius. Sunny skies today, but we could get some rainfall this evening as the sun sets at 6:33 p.m. Over there in Montego Bay, St. James, this morning, some areas got some scattered showers. We could be getting rainfall in certain areas in St. James going into this evening. We're seeing warm temperatures between 21 and 27 degrees Celsius for Montego Bay and other areas in St. James today. Let's take a look at what could be happening tonight. We're seeing lower temperatures between 22 and 24 degrees Celsius across the island, and we could be getting some scattered showers in all parishes. Let's see what's happening for tomorrow. We're seeing temperatures between 27 and 29 degrees Celsius. We're also seeing a forecast of some rainfall across the island. Let's take a look at what's happening in the region tomorrow. Temperatures between 22 and 28 degrees Celsius. We're also seeing a forecast of some cloudy conditions across the region and rainfall forecast for Santo Domingo and over there in Nassau, Bahamas. And further afield, we're looking at the United States. Minimum temperatures -1 degree, high 22 degrees Celsius for the areas. On your screen, we're looking at Los Angeles, Miami, New York, and Atlanta. We're seeing a forecast of snowfall for New York, rainfall for Los Angeles, sunny skies for Atlanta. And that's it for the weather report. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.